Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2013 Premier Keystone Bullet. We are just going to be starting off at the back of the unit. That is where you're going to find your spare tire. Also located right at the back is going to be your 30 amp supply cord, supply power inlet. Just cord rolls out like so. You got about 15 feet once fully extended. Once you got your camper all plugged in and you're ready to go, you can close down that cap, close that flap down as much as you can. That way you're stopping any critters from getting inside. And then if you follow that cord back, again, just coming to your standard 30 amp plug in. Now most campsites should have this, so you can plug right on in, but let's say your campsite doesn't have 30 amp service, or you have the unit at home and there's only 15 amp service standard household outlet available. We do include that park adapter. Just keep it in mind whenever you are using it. You're going down to 15 amps power, so you're not gonna be able to run your air conditioner. It realistically is just to run your fridge and your lights. You got two bumper caps on either side. You can pull either one out of place like so. That's typically where you're gonna store your sewer hose once you do use it. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why it's not in there yet, but typically that's where you're gonna wanna keep that. You got in all four corners, you do have stabilizer jacks. You hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just giving it another 1/8 turn. And that's just to snug things up and take any bounce or sways we have in the unit right now away. In addition to that, these are stabilizing jacks. They're not leveling jacks. Please don't try to use them as so, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. The same does go for if you're running them up or down with an impact. Just keep in mind how much torque you put on them, as you do run the risk of bending them. Coming a little further down the unit, you got your fridge service port, which there's not much there you need to worry about. Furnace exhaust, whenever your furnace is running, it'll be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Got your black tank flush, so if you're noticing false monitor panel readings inside, or just an odor around the unit, that is how you flush that black tank out. But it is very important that whenever you are using this, you have your sewer connected and your black tank valve open. The reason for that is because if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and the pressure has nowhere to go, you could expand that tank to the point of cracking. So again, that's something we're going to want to avoid. So whenever you're using this, just being careful that you do have everything open. And then coming down below, taking this sewer cap, twisting it off. It's going to have the same ears your sewer hose has. Your sewer hose can twist into place where that was. Then you got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. This is going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. Then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Got your exterior shower right here. 751 key to open up that, which does come included. Then you got your fresh water fill. So if you're out boondocking, your campsite doesn't have water, this is how you're gonna fill that fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Then you got your city water connection down below, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in, turn it on. It's gonna pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And if you look down right down below the floor here, you got your fresh tank drain, loosening that cap off. That is how you drain all the water out of there. Inside this front storage compartment, you come to your standard starter kit. Comes with a 15-foot water hose, 10-foot sewer hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, as well as that 15 amp park adapter I told you about. And then inside you do got a couple stabilizer jack tools. Come around right in front of the unit. You got your battery box located inside this box here. And then right up at the front, you got your two standard propane tanks. Most of the time you can get what you need done just by loosening off the tabs, flipping this up. You get access to both the tops of the tanks, but for the purpose of this video, we'll just slide it out of the way. Or in case you need to change one out, you can just slide the cover off, then you'd loosen off this wing nut, and everything would come undone. You got this tank here, which is what we're currently drawing off of. If this tank were to go empty, close it off, twist this valve to the other side, and open up this tank, and you can get this one filled up while you're running off this one still. Nice little feature. Counterclockwise like any standard barbecue, and just nice and slowly to open up the floats of the unit. Tongue jack up front. This side is just going to be the other side of your storage compartment here. Got your main entryway door, which I'll go over in a few minutes. Got your hot water service port. Take that, pull that, flip that back. Pop that guy down. Main things you need to worry about is whenever you do get to your campsite, hit this pressure release valve. That shot of water coming out of there letting you know that the tank is full and safe to fire up. If there were to be no shot of water coming out, that's letting you know that the tank's empty. It's probably not a good idea to fire it, as you run the risk of burning things out. You got your 1-inch drain bolt right down here. Loosen that guy off, pull it out of place. It's going to drain all the water out, all the hot water out of the tank, just making sure you do relieve the pressure before you do so. Otherwise, there's going to be a little bit of a blast of water that comes out of there. 2 exterior plugs. Other than that, pretty standard. The rest of the unit. Now we can get inside. You're just going to take that assist handle, push it up 40 at 90 degrees. It's going to lock into place. Then you can pull your stairs down. They just fold down towards you. Last step, push it down. That'll allow you to open up your door. Once you get your door open, you can step on inside. First thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. You got all your keys located right on top of this counter here. And then for the most part, everything is kind of ran over here. You got a couple different switches you can go with. You got this ceiling light switch, turning that on. It's going to turn all the lights on in the main living space. The bedroom is on its own light switch, which is just right on the other side of this corner. Then you got a porch light, which turns on a little light outside the porch. You get your awning control. Push and hold the extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. Once the awning does reach its full extension, you're going to see the little flap hang down and the back of the metal tube. Now, unfortunately, today, I don't think you're going to be able to get to that point, and sometimes that flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a couple feet and then put it back out to try and get that flap to hang down. Now, if it were to start raining, you can take any arm in front or rear, pull it towards you. Once it does change the pitch of that awning, you can tighten up the knob. It's going to hold that and allow water to run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm. Just making sure that before you ever try to go to run that, that you do loosen these back off and leave them loose, so that way that awning can come back in its natural resting position, and you're not worrying about bending anything. Whenever you do have the awning out, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once they start picking up, awning starts flapping around, it's going to be a good idea to bring it in. Again, you don't want to run the risk of ripping your fabric or bending your arms. And to bring it in is as simple as hitting the retract button. Your awning's going to start rolling its way in. Once you're on contact side of the pin, you're automatically going to cut out. Now, if you ever had to roll that awning in while it was wet, it isn't a big deal. It's not the end of the world. But do try and remember at your next earliest convenience to roll that awning back out and allow it time to dry off. That way you're not accelerating the growth of mold and mildew inside of there. In addition to that, you got your monitor panel system. Pushing the button will tell you the corresponding level of the tank. Right down below, you got your different water heater options. You can fire it on either gas or electric. If you do fire it up on gas, the water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. Of course, hoping that you purge the system first. I'm going to go over purging once we do go over to our stove. If the water heater wouldn't light on the 3rd try, you just have to turn that off, give it about 30 seconds to a minute, and then try turning it back on and try relighting itself. Using gas is the less efficient option, but it does create hotter water faster. You can also fire it up on electric, so if you're not in a rush, it's going to be the more efficient option, but it does take a little bit longer to get hot water. It's always a good idea. You can always fire it up on gas, get that water hot and quick, turn off the gas, then continue it on with the electric, and it should be able to keep up the rest of the way. You got your slide controls. Slide 1, push and hold the out button. Slide out's going to start making its way out. Of course, you're always wanting to be mindful, giving it a quick check inside and out, making sure that nothing's going to get caught between the slides or run into the slides. And the reason I do say inside is sometimes things do tend to shift during travel, so it's always a good idea just to do a quick visual check and being visual while rolling it out. That way you know you're not going to run it into anything, causing any damage. If you were to see one side stop for whatever reason, see I'm hearing some binding, so I'm just going to go take a peek and make sure I'm seeing anything rubbing. Which we did, of course, have something rubbing. And I heard it right away, so this is why I do say that. It would have been your controller for something that almost got caught in there. So that's why, again, I say it's a good idea to always check the inside if you can. Give it a quick look over, make sure nothing's going to get caught in there. And then you can go with that second slide out. Again, it's going to work the same way as that other one, just holding that button, allowing it to make its way out, of course, after you've done your checks, and just being visual while you're putting it out to make sure that nothing bad's going to happen. so we're both of those at their full extension. So we'll first start off in the bedroom. It's pretty standard inside here. We got a couple different TV mounting brackets over here. There's a TV backer. If you wanted to mount a TV, this is going to be the best place to do so. Other than that, it's a pretty standard bedroom. Storage all around. Of course, whenever you're using the storage in any part of this unit, you're just being mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that, especially the wiring. You got your TV in the bed here just for now, just because we don't want it shifting during travel. If you pick up on the foot of the bed, I'm not going to, just because the TV's there. There is a little storage spot underneath for blankets or anything like that. You got a bunch of different windows. All the windows in here do work the same way. They got their own little lever system. So you just clockwise to get that out. You're not going to want to over crank it, otherwise it's going to give you a really hard time to get it back, or to get it back in, or to get it out in the first place. So again, you don't really need to crank on them real hard. You just got to open them a little bit to try and get that breeze in. And then just making sure you remember to close them all up before travel. You got a little privacy curtain here. It's just snapped into place. Taking a step on into the bathroom. Again, it's going to be pretty standard inside here. Sink, toilet, shower. Then on the wall, you do get your main GFI plug. You got reset up top, test down below. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd look. Just making sure that the system isn't tripped. Most of the plugs in this unit do run through GFI, so again, sometimes you can trip for the weirdest reasons. So if you ever have an outlet that you think isn't working, it's always just a good idea to make sure that that's not tripped. Before we do get to our thermostat, because this unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If that guy does ever start going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply at the front of the trailer. Open up some windows and vents and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Now back up to your thermostat. Push the button once. It's going to go into the fan setting. I always recommend leaving it in the auto fan setting because A, it creates an on-demand system for the air conditioner. So once you put it into that cool mode, whatever you have the room set to, the air conditioners will kick in and out as needed to keep it at that temperature. If you have it in either high or low, that air conditioner fan is going to run full time regardless. And then of course, when it comes to furnace, you have to make sure that you have the fan in automatic. Otherwise, when you go to turn on that furnace, you're also going to keep the air conditioner fan running. It's not what you want to do. Push the button again, get into the cool, push up and down at any time to change your set room temperature. And again, like I said, when you're in the auto fan setting, it means it's an on-demand system. So that'll only kick in and out as needed. The air conditioner does move all its air through the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit. In addition, you got this little quick dump station. So if you open that up, it's going to dump all its air into the main living space. So whenever you first get to your campsite, it'll be a good idea to cool off this main living space first. Once the main living space is cool, close this and you can push the air throughout the unit. Now one more time, pushing that mode button will kill the air conditioner, fire up the furnace. The furnace does run off propane, so again, you're going to want to make sure you have your system purged before you try and fire this. And I'm going to go over more notes once we do get to the stove for that. One more time again, we'll just cycle back over to off. And that is that once you do turn off the furnace after running it, it does run for an additional 3 minutes just to allow itself time to cool down as an added safety feature. Pantry space right next to it. It's also where you're going to find your main fuse breaker panel right below. Whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your corresponding fuses on the right. To my left, you got your Atwood fridge freezer combo. Temperature control button, I'm going to point out right off the bat, works a little weird. Pushing the button tells you what it's at. We're currently at the coldest setting. If you push and hold this, it'll bring you back down to 1, and as you hold the button, it slowly climbs, and where you let off the button is where the temperature will stay. Pushing the button again, once you've stopped, will bring you back, right? So just wherever you want the fridge setting. Obviously this last setting here is the coldest setting. Let off the button and that's where it will stay. You do have your mode setting here. So whenever it's in auto, it's going to first search for AC power. Once AC power is switched, taken away, it will automatically switch over to gas. Of course, hoping you have your gas on and purged. If you want to switch it, again, that's just a push and hold option. And it'll switch you between all your different options you can go through. Power button, push and hold again to use that. And then you got your fridge and freezer combo, top and bottom. After you've had your fridge running for a weekend, if you are deciding that you're not using the trailer for a while and you turn the fridge off, it's always a good idea to leave the doors open with some towels inside. That way you're sucking up that moisture as it's created. Otherwise, you do accelerate the growth of mold or mildew in there just from it turning on and off all the time. Eventually, there will be some mold growing inside of there. An additional note for the air conditioner I didn't mention, you got some screen vents inside of here. You just have to pull on that tab. This whole plastic vent cover is going to pop out of the way. At that point, you can remove that black screen, give it a spray out with some compressed air, as that is our intake screen for where the fan gets its air to blow. Sometimes that can get dusty, so just keeping that clean to keep the flow good. Other than that, you get back to your kitchen space here. It's pretty standard. I always recommend running your range hood whenever you are running your oven or stove, your stove, not your oven, because you're just evacuating those propane fumes, so your LP detector doesn't start giving you issues. Microwave up top. And now coming to our stove, we're gonna go over some propane notes here. I already went over the LP detector, but whenever you turn the system off at the front, it does allow air into the system. The longer you have it off, the more air makes its way in. And the same goes if you disconnect one of the bottles. So the best way to purge the system is whenever you first get to your campsite, come fire up your stove first thing. It's just the quickest, easiest way to purge things as you decide how long the gas runs for. If you try to fire up your fridge, water heater, or anything like that, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times. If they don't sense a flame, it's going to throw a fault code at you. And if you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw a little wrench into your weekend and possibly some frustration. This is what we want to try to avoid, so that's why I make these videos, just to tell you these little quick tips. Turn that over to the high option with your lighter, of course, and it does fire right on up. Now, because this is propane, I'm going to turn these other ones off. Whenever you turn any of these knobs on, if you're not having a lighter around with you, turn them off right away. You don't want to have that buildup of gas, because what happens is if you leave this on for too long before you can get a lighter there, you can get a small buildup of gas happening. And if you go to hit the lighter after that, with that buildup of gas, then it could be a minor combustion. And if you have your face nearby, you're probably going to lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, not safe and something we want to avoid. So just whenever you have any of these knobs on, just use that lighter to light that up. That way, once gas does start making its way through, it's not going to create a combustion and a big bang. Sometimes it did fire up pretty quickly today. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient while you're holding it there. Always just make sure you're having that lighter lit. Down below, you got your oven. Pretty much the same thing. Turn it over to the pilot option. Push and hold the knob in. Take your lighter and bring it down underneath to the right side of that burner. Hold your lighter right near that gas orifice. You're going to see that pilot then lights. Once you're able to let off the pilot option and it can hold its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. Other than that, pretty standard kitchen. Sink, hot and cold water, storage all around. Of course, just being mindful of drains, water lines, and things like that. You're going to notice over here you have some recliner chairs as well as these little footrest things. Keep note of the orientation they're in, because once these slide outs come in, it gets tight in here. You're not going to want to run into any of that, causing any damage. So just make sure you stack things away properly before you try and run the slide outs. That way you don't run the risk of damaging anything. Other than that, it's a pretty standard living space. You got your entertainment center with a few different options. You got your stereo, again, pretty much just like home. Windows all throughout, shades all throughout. They're all going to work the same way. These guys inside the main living space do have an extra shade there, so you can kind of leave it wherever you want it in case you want to hide sun out or let sun in. Fold out couch, pretty standard. Storage down below. Now for this fold out couch specifically, you would need a blow up mattress, because once it folds out, you have to have a mattress to put on top of there, otherwise it's going to be a pretty uncomfortable stay. But no worries, because what you do have is this folding dinette. So if you have some extra guests that you need sleeping for, fold in the bottom of the table legs, set the tabletop on its desired ledges, and then you can take your back cushions to fill in the center, and you would have yourself another bed for somebody to sleep on if they needed to. This is also where you're going to find your fire exit for the unit. You're just having to undo these red clasps, push the window, pop it out of place, and you can hop right down out of the unit, hopefully going feet first and not head first, because that is not the best option to go. But of course, if there's a fire, just getting out of the unit as quickly as possible is all that matters. Other than that, that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.